Hello, guys. Hello, hello, hello. I am here by myself once again, but that's okay because, we're going to be talking about the Bermuda Triangle. At least I think that's how you say it. But basically, it's a mysterious triangle that, people just disappear and stuff. I don't know, it's out in the ocean, Many ships have sailed over this mysterious triangle and disappeared. Same with many planes. Many planes flew over this area and they just disappeared. There's not really an explanation for it, so we're gonna get into that today. What is the Bermuda Triangle? Like, some people think that it's kind of like a whirlpool that kind of pulls ships under. Some people think it has like a magnetic field around it, which kind of like, which is why technology kind of malfunctions when it like enters that area. Some people think it's a portal to another dimension or like time travel thing. I don't know. What do I think it is? It's hard to say, but I think it's like I think it's very fascinating because it's like, what? It's no coincidence. Like, so many ships have sailed through this and never made it back out the other side. Same with planes. Many planes have flew over it and disappeared. No trace of any wreckage at all. So I'm just like, it's kind of fascinating. Like, where did they all go? What happened to them? But we're gonna get into this theory. If you want me to do more conspiracy theory podcasts, just let me know because I love it. But yeah, this is definitely a conspiracy theory. I'm not like, nothing I bring up is facts or, this is just what I think might happen, what other people think, what possible outcomes. Like, what is the Bermuda Triangle? That's what we're going to be figuring out today. So, what is the Bermuda Triangle? So, the Bermuda Triangle is a mythical section of the Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by Miami. The Bermuda and Puerto Rico, where dozens of ships and airplanes have disappeared. So, like I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, many ships and airplanes have entered the circle. It just disappeared. Unexplained circumstances surrounded some of these accidents, including one in which the pilot of Squadron, which is he was a U.S. Navy bomber, became disorientated. They were disorientated. I think that's. But basically, he became like, kind of like fuzzy, I guess you can say, while flying over the area. The planes were never found, so just, became disorientated, disappeared, never found. Like, nobody found the wreckage. Like, it just disappeared off the face of the planet. And other boats and planes have seemingly vanished from the area in good weather without even radioing distress messages. So it's not like there was a storm and they disappeared. Like, these planes and boats they disappeared in clear weather. No rain, no clouds, no storms, no thrashing of waves. Clear ass weather, and they didn't even send a distress message. Be like, Mayday, Mayday! Something's happening. Something's going wrong, bro. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's definitely bizarre. But although some myriad fanciful theories. Sorry, my brain just completely stopped working there for a minute. Just bear with me. But anyway, so like, a lot of people, they have like theories of what the death triangle even is. Like, they have their theories on why people disappears, but none of them prove that none of them prove that like the mysterious disappears occur more frequently. But like some people fly over the triangle and some people sail over the triangle without incidents at all. However, like more people disappear in the triangle than people that just kind of go by with no problems. So the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. So let me just I'll just paint a description on like what it is basically. So the area referred to as the Bermuda Triangle or the Devil's Triangle covers about 500,000 square miles of ocean off the southeastern tip of Florida. So it all started with one man, and that man was Christopher Columbus. So Christopher Columbus sailed through the area on his first voyage to the new area. He reported that a great flame of fire, probably a meteor, at least that's what scientists says. Like nobody was around back then, but scientists and people that study the earth was like it was probably a meteor. But anyway, besides the point. So Christopher Columbus saw this big flash of light in the sky, and it crashed into the sea one night, and the strange light appeared in the distance a few weeks later. He also wrote about erratic compass readings, perhaps because at that time a silver of the Bermuda, or a sliver of the Bermuda Triangle was one of the few places on Earth where true north and magnetic north, lined up. So that could be why the compass were malfunctioning, because the Bermuda Triangle, I think, is like one of the very, very, very few places on Earth where there's just like a magnetic field. So that could explain why so many like technology malfunctions, like compass goes out of whack, like reading, like planes stop working, ships kind of get turned in the wrong direction. So anyway, so another man, you probably know him, William Shakespeare. So William Shakespeare's play The Tempest, which some scholars claim was based on the real life Bermuda shipwreck, may have enhanced the area's aura of mystery. Nonetheless, reports of explained disappearance did not really capture the public's attention until the 20th century. So so people think that The Trumpist, which is one of Shakespeare's plays, is based off the real life history of the Bermuda Triangle. Whether or not that's true or not, it hasn't necessarily been confirmed, but it's a theory. Especially infamous tragedy occurred on. So let me just tell you one incident, right? So an infamous tragedy occurred on March 1918 when the USS Cyclops, a 542-foot long Navy cargo ship with over 300 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore on board, sank somewhere between the Barbados and the I think it's Chesapeake Bay. Chesapeake. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really good with names. Y'all already know this, but I think it's Chesapeake Bay. Anyway, the Cyclops never sent out a SOS distress call despite being equipped to do so. And an extensive search found no wreckage. One person said Woodrow Wilson specifically, and this is a quote from him. This is word for word. He said, and I quote, "Only God and the sea knows what happens to that great ship." So, he said, Woodrow Wilson, which was the U.S. president, said that later on in 1941. But two of the Cyclops sister ships similarly vanished without a trace along nearly the same route, basically. So, the Cyclops disappeared, and then two of the sister ships also disappeared, and they were all around the same area on the same route. So, coincidence? I think not. So, a pattern, allegedly, I gotta say allegedly because it hasn't been confirmed, but a pattern allegedly began forming in which vessels traversing the Bermuda Triangle would either disappear or be found abandoned. Then, in December 1948, 5 Navy bombers carrying 14 men took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida airfield in order to conduct practice bombing runs over some nearby shores. But with his compass apparently malfunctioning, the leader of the mission, known as Flight 19, got severely lost. All 5 planes flew aimlessly until they ran low on fuel and they were forced to ditch at sea. Just abandon the mission. The same day, a rescue plane and the 13-man crew also disappeared after a massive week-long search failed to turn up any evidence. The official Navy report declared that it was as if they'd flown to Mars. I don't know, man. See, this is why I don't like the ocean. This is the exact reason why I don't like the ocean. Like, some strange stuff goes on in the ocean, I'm telling you guys. Like, people's like, oh my god, it's not that big of a deal. But look, bro, you ain't catching me going over the Bermuda Triangle. If I disappear one day, guys, it's not an accident. Something happened to me. But I'm not really paranoid, so anyway. Okay, so this is some of the theories that could potentially be why all this random stuff is happening. So, like, by the time author Vince Gaudius called the phrase Bermuda Triangle in a 1964 magazine article, additional mysteries, accidents, and had occurred in the area, including 3 passenger planes that went down despite having just sent all's well messages. A man, Charles Berlitz, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, whose grandfather founded the Berlitz language schools, stoked the legend even further in 1974 with a sensational bestseller about the legend. Since then, scores of fellow paranormal writers have blamed the triangle's supposed lethalness. Oh, sorry, I just hit my mic. Lethalness on everything from aliens, Atlantis, and sea monsters to time warps and reverse gravity fields. Whereas more scientifically minded theorists have pointed out the magnetic anomalies, water spouts from huge eruptions, and methane gas from the ocean floor. So, yeah, there's a lot of different theories. Like, there's a lot of different theories. Some people think that it's aliens. Like, it's just an alien hotspot. Aliens kind of hover over the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe there's like an alien kind of civilization under the sea. Some people said it might be the lost city of Atlantis. Others think the Kraken could be lurking in that area, dragging ships down to hell, even like planes. I don't think a Kraken is that big, but Another one, the Goliathan, which is basically kind of like a sea serpent. So, or like sirens, which is basically, sirens are like evil mermaids, kind of lure ships in so they crash and sink. And mermaids, so a lot of stuff. But yeah, personally, like, I want to think logical because, like, I'm not really a big believer in stuff, and I like thinking logical. I have a logical mind, I think. So, personally, I kind of agree with the scientists. I think it's probably just since the Bermuda Triangle has like a magnetic field around it. It has a magnetic field. I think that's what's going on. That's why, like, so many compasses and different stuff, like, happens. Because, But long story short, don't go to the Bermuda Triangle, because you might not make it back. But anyway, in all honesty, there is no single theory that solves the mystery, as one skeptic put it. Trying to find a common cause of every Bermuda Triangle disappearance is no more logical than trying to find a common cause for every automobile accident in Arizona. It's just like, no, there's just, you can't do it. It's like, there's no explanation for it. Like, whether you believe that it's a magnetic field, or whether you believe it's aliens, or the Kraken, or like a sea serpent, or anything like that, at the end of the day, nobody truly knows what's going on in that triangle. But moreover, like, although storms, reefs, and the Gulf Stream can cause navigational challenges, they're, maritime insurance leader Lloyd's of London does not recognize the Bermuda Triangle as an especially hazardous place. Neither does the U.S. Coast Guard, which says in a review of many aircraft and vessel losses in the area over the years, there has been nothing discovered that would indicate that casualties were the result of anything other than physical causes. No extraordinary factors have been identified. So, the Coast Guard said it's safe, but I don't know, man. Things are a bit tricky. So, I do have some stories, all right? I'm going to tell y'all guys a couple of incidents or stories that happened. So, I mentioned this specific one earlier about the 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers that disappeared on Flight 19. But I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into what actually happened. So, Flight 19 is one of the most famous Bermuda Triangle cases in history. So, basically, in December of 1945, a group of 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers, collectively known as Flight 19, left Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a 3-hour exercise and vanished. Flight leader Lieutenant Charles, his name's complicated, but I think it's Lieutenant Charles. Let's just call him Charles. Charles became convinced his compass was malfunctioning, that they were flying in the wrong direction. A storm blew in, and Flight 19 became increasingly disorientated. Taylor thought they were over the Florida Keys, but that didn't seem possible, as it has been less than an hour since he made his scheduled pass over hen and chicken shows in the Bahamas. Yet he was convinced his plane and had somehow drifted hundreds of miles off course to the Florida Keys. Disagreements over whether they should be flying east or west were heard over the radio. Taylor's final words came through preparing his men for an ocean landing as they ran out of fuel, then static. The Navy deployed search planes and pair of PBM Marine seaplanes took off, followed in the footsteps of Flight 19, but disappeared from the radar, and much like Flight 19, were never seen from again. So, that is some spooky stuff. So, they kind of stirred off course, basically, and the final words were, like, the final words over the radio was like the leader preparing his men to make an emergency landing in the ocean, and then just pure static, never seen from again. They even sent planes to find them, and the rescue planes disappeared also. So that's it's crazy. So this next story is the Ellen Austin found a mysterious Dursalant ship, and then it vanished. What do I mean? Well, basically, the Ellen Austin is a particularly unnerving tale. It was 1880, and the ship was bound from New York to London when it came across a direct, desolate ship. In order to tow it back, they spared a few of their own experienced crew members, and the two sailed together. A storm separated the two ships, and then the ship kind of vanished. And then the Ellen Austin sailed back to London by itself. So there is one more report of the ship being spotted again, but mysteriously enough, a completely different crew from those who left the Austin were aboard. So that's kind of basically like, so this ship was like, they found this ship, and they went aboard it. So they went aboard the ship, and like half of the crew stayed on the ship they found, and the other half went back to their ship, and like they were towing it, and a big storm kind of got the ship separated. And about a week later, they found the ship that disappeared, but the crew was not on there. The crew vanished. Where did they go? I don't know. Don't know, but it's kind of scary. Another incident that happened was the BSAA Star Tiger. So, on January 28th, 1948, the British South American Airlines passenger plane Star Tiger was preparing to take off from Lisbon to Bermuda, it was going to take off from Lisbon for Bermuda, with a short refueling stop in Santa Maria. Before they even left Lisbon, however, Captain Brian W. McMillan ordered everyone off the plane because there was a problem with one of the engines. 2.5 hours later, passengers reboarded, and the plane took off from Santa Maria. The Star Tiger made it to Santa Maria with no trouble, but the weather was so bad that Captain McMillan decided to postpone the second half of their trip. The next day, January 29th, the flight to Bermuda resumed. The winds were still strong, but Captain McMillan believed that if he kept the aircraft below 2,000 feet, they would avoid the worst of it and easily make it to Bermuda. There were no distress calls, no response to any attempts to reach them. The Star Tiger just disappeared. A 5-day rescue operation was launched by the USAF, but it turned up nothing. There were 25 passengers and a crew of 6, and a World War II hero aboard that airplane. So they were never heard from again. What happened to them? Who knows? Nobody knows. Just like all these disappears, nobody actually knows what the hell is going on. Another incident that happened was with a C-54 Skymaster. So, a plane crashes into the ocean during a bad storm, killing all 6 on board. It is tragic, but it makes sense seeing that they were facing inclement weather, right? But the strange thing about the crash of the C-54 Skymaster is why it was heading into the storm in the first place. Like, if it stayed on its original intended course, there wouldn't have been a storm to strike them down. The pilot was experiencing a navigator was a class 2. They were both qualified and knew how to avoid storms. They just didn't. Which makes it even weirder. Sorry, I'm pausing a lot. My throat is like so dry right now. But, that's like, it had 2 experienced pilots though. It's like they intentionally went into the storm. I don't know why, but anywho, on July 3rd, 1947, Major Ralph Ward and 5 other crew members left Bermuda and went off course almost immediately. They were far south of their scheduled course and then suddenly made a course change north and then southwest, flying straight into the eye of a storm. 2 very faint SOS calls came into the ground operator. They were very low and garbled, and then there was nothing but silence. So, the breeze was found about 209 miles northeast of Florida and reflected sudden disturbance common in severe storms. But how this huge blunder was made in the first place remains a topic of debate, especially among people who believe in extraterrestrials. That's right, guys. People think it was aliens. People think aliens are the cause of this ship. But I don't know, man. Like, it had 2 very experienced pilots, so why the hell they decided to go into an eye of the storm is my guess. But it's just like, I don't know. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows. Absolutely nothing. But another story right here. So, on December 28th, 1948, I don't know if you notice a pattern, but a lot of these famous disappearances happened in the 40s. But on December 28th, 1948, a airborne transport DC-3 took off from Puerto Rico to Miami, Florida. Captain Robert sent a radio transmission reporting the plane's position on a ETA of 4:05 a.m. The next report he sent was at 4:13 a.m. saying the DC-3 was 50 miles south of Florida with only 20 minutes left before landing. That was the last transmission, and the DC-3 never showed up. 3 crew members and 28 passengers simply vanished 20 minutes before landing. Where did they go? They just dipped, man. They just like peaced out. Next story we got here. So, this one actually happens in the 50s. So, in 1954, a U.S. military carrier aircraft full of naval officers and their families disappeared. The officers were being transferred from Maryland to Lagos, a military base in Azores. A total of 42 passengers simply vanished within the region of the Bermuda Triangle. No distress calls were made, no bodies or debris were ever found. The pilots was more than capable, as was the plane, until it reached the Bermuda Triangle. There wasn't a concrete cause that could have determine. The Board of Investigational simply stated, this is what they said, quote unquote, the possibility of structural failure during transit of frontal weather cannot be discounted in an accident, but the possibility appears remote. So, what happened to Flight 441 remains one of the biggest mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle. Like, this is why I'm kind of scared to fly. I know these incidents don't really happen that often, but just, like, reading all these incidents and doing, like, all my research over the past couple of days, it's just, like, it's spooky, man. It's spooky. Alright, next story we got. The Bermuda Triangle claimed another victim on October 1st, 2015. So this one is really recently. This literally happened like not even 10 years ago. Like, what is it? 2020. This happened like 8 years ago. So very recently. Happened October 1st, 2015. So the container ships SSL Faro left Jacksonville, Florida for Puerto Rico with 33 people on board. On September 30th, 2015, the captain charted, of course, leading them safe distance away from the tropical storm. The next day, October 1st, 2015, that tropical storm had turned into a Category 3 hurricane, and it was circling the ship with winds of 90 miles an hour. Hurricane Joaquin bombarded the vessel with waves of up to 40 feet, looping around and going back the way it came. After weeks of search, the SSL Faller was found in one piece, sitting upright 1,500 feet below ocean surface. So that hurricane took that ship out. This one wasn't really a strange disappearance. It still happened in the Bermuda Triangle, but this was mainly caused by a hurricane, most likely. The hurricane just took the ship out. So, took the ship out. So, I got one final story here. So, this one is, some people say this might be witchcraft, but, anyway. So, in December 1967, Captain Dan Barak climbed aboard Witchcraft, his luxury cabin cruiser, and set sail from Miami with their friend Roman Catholic priest Father Patrick Hogan. They were just far enough out to get a view of Christmas lights on the shore. At 9 p.m., Captain Barak radioed the Coast Guard to report he hit something. He didn't think the damage was too bad, but he would need a tow back. He even said he lit some flares. Just because it was dark. It was like in the middle of the night, so he lit some flares just to let the people know where he was exactly. So the Coast Guard took off immediately. It took them only 20 minutes to reach Witchcraft's location, but by the time they arrived, the ship was gone. Just disappeared. Barak was an experienced and cautiously sailor man. He'd even installed a special flotation device on the boat to make it unsinkable. Where did we hear that from? The Titanic. Don't ever call a boat unsinkable, because if you call a boat unsinkable, you cursed it. You jinxed it, and it's going to sink. But anyway, basically, he put a device that would have made the boat not sink. But even if the boat flooded, a part of the hull would still be afloat, but nothing was visible for the Coast Guard. There was no wreckage or flares. They searched 24,500 miles out and found nothing. What became of Witchcraft and her passengers remains a mystery, just like everything on this list. But yeah, those were like the strange stories. This is gonna be a very short episode. Silent obviously isn't here right now, so I had to do it by myself. So, it would have been longer if I had someone to play off of. But, hopefully Silent comes back in the future. I don't know. She deals with stuff a lot, which is fine, because I am completely capable of holding down the fort. But as far as, all these incidents, what do you think? Leave down in the comment section below. What do you think is the cause of all of this mysteries? Do you think it's aliens? The lost city of Atlantis? The Kraken? Sirens? Mermaids? Leviathan? Or are you more of a logical person who thinks it's just a magnetic field, or maybe a whirlpool, or maybe kind of like a ocean version of a sinkhole? Let me know in the comment section below. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're ever gonna know what happened to these things. some things are just better left a mystery. Will we ever know what the Bermuda Triangle is and what happened to all these disappeared aircrafts and ships? Probably not. But I guess some things are just better left unknown and unsolved. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's podcast. I hope you enjoy. Hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. Cash App and Venmo is on the screen, obviously, if you want to donate to me. Obviously, it's not required, but it is appreciated if you want to do so. But, yeah, as always, guys, I will see you guys in the next podcast. Bye-bye!